Money is financial.
Always in our...
Stay with WBEZ as we follow the story.
Money is not always in our genetic code.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Bank of America. Bank of America is committed to helping businesses of all sizes make every move matter. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking for business.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. The home genetics testing company 23andMe has filed for protection from creditors. It hopes to sell itself and keep operating. There's a lot of very personal data in there. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer has some details.
23andMe is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This type of bankruptcy allows a company to reorganize and keep going without being liquidated. 23andMe uses saliva from its customers to test their DNA. It says the tests show whether clients are prone to various diseases, including cancer and Alzheimer's. In a statement, the company says it filed for bankruptcy to facilitate a sale process and intends to keep operating, adding that it's, quote, committed to continuing to safeguard customer data. Last year, 23andMe settled a lawsuit alleging it didn't adequately protect that information. Millions of its clients' data was stolen by hackers. In a post on X, CEO Ann Wojcicki says she's resigning and intends to submit a bid to buy the company. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
A headline in the Wall Street Journal suggesting President Trump could delay tariffs on cars, trucks, microchips, and some other goods is bringing some cheer to stock investors. The Journal says auto companies and some other sectors will not get the tariffs on April 2nd at least. S&P futures are up 1.2%. NASDAQ futures are up 1.5%. The VIX index of stock market volatility or dread is calmer, down 2% now. The euro is up, the dollar's down, with the European single currency costing $1.08.3. Budget cuts and warnings of cuts to come are forcing big universities to make deep cuts of their own. This even as some of the budget slashing is running into court challenges. When it comes to medical research, universities plan years in advance. Marketplace's Nova Safo now on how financial uncertainty is affecting one research lab at Duke University in North Carolina.
Research that started 30 years ago at Donald McDonald's laboratory at Duke University led to a new drug in 2023 to treat metastatic breast cancer. Now he has a second drug in clinical trials.
Both of those drugs, let me just say, were drugs that industry passed on years and years ago for other indications, and they were rediscovered by really inquisitive, bright graduate students.
McDonald's lab depends on a handful of those students, funded in part through the school and in part through grants. Right now, with all the uncertainty around federal funding, McDonald is facing an unprecedented challenge.
This is the time of year when students elect, to work with various professors. And I personally am scrambling right now to take 4 incredible students who want to work with me to develop a new drug we have for prostate cancer, and I can't find funding.
He needs $70,000 per student per year. Similar scenes are playing out across the country. Academics say at minimum, the Trump administration is slow-walking approvals of medical research grants. Also, the threat of drastically reducing reimbursement for researchers' so-called indirect costs, things like electricity, supplies, has left many unsure about what money their labs will actually have to spend.
We're doing a lot of tabletop exercises, a lot of strategic planning exercises with different scenarios.
Colin Duckett, Executive Vice Dean for Basic and Preclinical Science at Duke, says those scenarios could mean broader school-wide budget cuts to come. Dozens of other universities have already publicly announced such cuts because of the disruptions coming from the federal government.
I came here 35 years ago from England because this is the best place in the world to do science. And it is really sad for me to wonder whether the US is the best place to do science. It's almost inconceivable.
There is a lot of worry. There is a lot of frustration. There is a lot of anxiety.
Laurel Harbridge Young is a political science professor at Northwestern University. Her own research grants are unaffected, but she's been having a lot of conversations across academia and says graduate students in particular are concerned about their futures. That's because of the challenges professors like McDonald are having in finding grants. Existing private funds can't make up the difference for the federal government's vast financial powers.
If this grant money dramatically decreases or goes away in some fields, we can't sustain to bring in the graduate students. That means these early career researchers don't get to be trained to become world-class researchers and scientists. And we're going to lose that whole pipeline of expertise and knowledge.
A loss, academics say, which could take a decade or more to reverse. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Commvault. Businesses can recover data as well as cloud applications and platforms after a cyber attack in just minutes with Commvault, so they can become a continuous business.
It makes sense to pay for a house or a car in installments, but what about paying later for 2 slices of moussaka, a large Greek salad, and some baklava? The payment company Klarna is partnering with the delivery service DoorDash on a buy now, pay later loans for DoorDash purchases. Also in these deliveries come convenience and some risk. Here's Marketplace's Henry Epp.
One of the most popular buy now, pay later methods is known as pay in 4. Basically, when you buy a new pair of pants or soon a delivered burrito, you pay 1 installment up front and 3 more every 2 weeks, explains Joanna Stavens at the Boston Fed.
So it's a sort of 6-week short-term credit, interest-free.
But if you're late on payments, fees can eventually rack up. Stavens says buy now, pay later users tend to have less money in the bank.
And they already carry credit card debt. So they are what I call financially fragile.
There's extra risk, says Nadine Chabrier at the Center for Responsible Lending, because unlike getting approved for a credit card,
there's no requirement for a buy now, pay later to assess whether you have an ability to repay the loan. That may lead to consumers taking out unaffordable amounts of debt.
And a delivered DoorDash meal often comes with fees already, says Lisa Gill at Consumer Reports. So someone who uses buy now, pay later for their order is financing
service fees, delivery fees, gratuity fees, and any other service charges over a month's time. And they're just trying to get a $10 bowl for lunch or burrito for lunch.
You could, she says, order directly from the restaurant and cut out the middlemen. I'm Henry Epp for Marketplace.
There's a $35 minimum on installment purchases via DoorDash, so no, you can't eat now, pay later on one burger unless it's like Japanese Wagyu beef and the truffle fries. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio. It's Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.